of our brand new podcast, To Hell and Back, Ordinary People Living Transformed Lives. I'm here today with Tracy. We are both co-creators of this new podcast. So I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Tracy Ramirez.
And we're excited today for our very first guest, which is a longtime friend. We're going to introduce her in a moment, but before we do that, we kind of want to talk a little bit about what the intent of this podcast is and what this particular podcast may contain.
So when Bobby and I first decided to create the podcast, we talked about how many people that we knew had lived through a lot of trauma, abuse, medical issues, whatever the case may be, but we knew so many people who had just lived through a lot and come out on the other side. So we talked about how encouraging that can be to others who may be in that situation right now. We just wanted to share their stories, to give hope. And so we do want to let you know that our first episode here does contain emotional and physical abuse, just as a way of warning for those who may be triggered by those things. But we certainly want to bring light to that and also to give hope to those who may be in that situation.
I agree. The main intent of this podcast is to reach out literally to people, not just in the United States, but globally, to talk about, to find out their stories and how they dealt with it and how they came out on the other side okay. Because everyone has different tools that they use. So again, very excited to have Susie with us. She's a longtime friend. So I'm going to just let Susie introduce herself and do a little bit of an introduction.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Susie G. Personal life. I am a mother, a grandmother, a sister, a daughter, and I have all the family stuff. I have 2 adorable grandchildren and a wonderful husband. Professionally, I am a psychic medium, and Bobby and I also have another podcast, 2 Crazy Ladies with a Microphone, which is freaking hilarious if you ever want to watch that one. Bobby and I have known each other for
over 20 years.
A long time. So we're super comfortable with each other. So when Bobby and Tracy told me about this podcast, I said, I have 2 stories we could talk about. Which one should we talk about first? So we decided to talk about the abuse first. So we're going to be talking about my journey, if you will, through abuse and self-esteem issues, all of that crap, and how I got out of that and to live a beautiful, fun, vibrant life.
Yeah. And I think that's important, and that's kind of one of the main takeaways from this podcast, really, I think, is there are resources and there are things to help people, and there are other people who've been through maybe what you're going through right now to help you see that there is an end in sight and that you can have a better life. And we do have resources that we will post after we record this video and put it out there online. So with that, where would you like to start, my dear friend?
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a really wonderful family. I grew up in Leave It to Beaverland. My mom was the quintessential June Cleaver. She was a stay-at-home mom my entire childhood. My dad went off to work. You could set the clock by what time he went to work and what time he came home from work. Very steady job. I have a family of 7, so mom, dad, 3 sisters, and a brother. I'm right in the middle. So I always thought of myself as the beaver just because he was the one that caused the trouble, and I was usually the troublemaker. Because anybody who knows middle child, middle child syndrome is real because you kind of get forgotten about.
I think about the Brady Bunch.
Oh my gosh. Hello. Exactly. So great childhood growing up. But my first taste, if you will, of abuse of any way, shape, or form came along with my high school boyfriend. So my high school boyfriend and I met. His name was Paul. We met when I was 17. Okay. We ended up dating for about 4.5 years, and the abuse with him started very slowly over the course of time. So at first, I was amazing and awesome, and he was so lucky to have me as a girlfriend. And then there were these little comments that would come in, and they would just chip away at your self-esteem a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. So, for example, I remember going to a concert with him, and you know, we were with a group of people, and at a concert, you stand up and you're singing and you're dancing and you're having a good time. And he told me I looked like an idiot because I was the first one to stand up in our area.
Right.
He's like, sit down, you look like an idiot. So what do? I sit down.
What did you think, like, at that time? You probably didn't think anything of it?
I didn't really think much of it other than he's being a dick tonight. You know, but then it wasn't long where other people started standing up. Next thing you know, he's standing up. Our whole group of people standing up. I'm still sitting down, kind of cocksucking him in my head, and he's like, "Stand up! You look like an idiot." And I'm like, "Sit down, stand up." You know, so it was one of those kind of things. I couldn't win no matter what. But then it would just be that little nitpicky stuff. So I remember another time when. He was my prom date. Go figure, he was my prom date. And he picked me up, and I don't know if you guys remember how long it takes to get ready for prom.
All day.
All day. You're doing your hair and your makeup and your nails, and you just want to look pretty. You just want to look pretty. And I came downstairs to meet him, and I was feeling really good until he looked at me and said, "You look like a whore. You have too much makeup on. You need to go wash your face before we go." And you know what I did? I went and washed my face. Yeah, so it was that little nitpicky, and it would just take a little chunk of your self-esteem away. A little bit more, until the comments got worse, and he would make comments like, "You know what? Nobody would put up with your shit. You're lucky I love you."
And were you still in high school at this time?
Well, this is over a long period of time. So this was probably about 2.5, 3 years into the relationship where it just got worse and worse.
It's important, I think, for viewers to understand, like, this started in high school.
Yeah. And it started small.
Right.
It started small where you didn't even notice it. So it goes from just the small little comment like, "Oh, your butt looks a little big in those pants." I mean, what man would say that really? But some do. I mean, no, you should be saying your butt looks glorious in those pants. But if those little comments, and they got worse and more severe slowly, so that I wasn't even realizing what was going on.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. You didn't notice that it was progressing because...
No, it was so slow. It was so small, so minute. You know, so by the time he started telling me I was a worthless piece of shit and nobody else was going to put up with me, I actually believed him. I actually believed him. So then when the physical abuse started, it was just the next step in the progression.
Do you think by that time, I've talked to a lot of women who've been through abuse, and they said by the time the physical abuse starts, they almost feel like in some ways they deserve it.
Yes.
Strangely.
Because you have no self-esteem.
Because we have no
low.
self-esteem. Our self-esteem is wrapped up in what this person is telling us. So if this person is telling us we're a worthless piece of shit, we think we are a worthless piece of shit. Therefore, if I do something that makes him angry, or her, could be her, and I get smacked around, that's my fault. Oh, I should have been a better person. I deserved that.
Do you feel like, and you just hit on something, Susie, do you feel like, you know, you thought you're worthless piece of shit or whatever, do you feel like looking back, like you were telling yourself other stories as well? No, I had totally bought into it. Okay.
By that time in my life, I totally bought into it.
But I think I know where you're going. Were you making excuses for him?
Oh, was I making excuses for him? Yes, okay. I was. He had a bad day. He, you know, by this time, so we started dating at 17. So we were probably 19. We had moved in together, you know, living together. He was working. So by this time it would have been, oh, he had a bad day at work. You know, something must have triggered him at work. You know?
Yeah. So when did you finally start to realize that it wasn't you, it was him?
That's a good question. I think the starting point was when I finally confided in a girlfriend back at that time. She had questioned, I don't know if she saw a bruise or what she saw, but she had questioned something, and I finally just confided in a friend. So this whole time, my family didn't know anything.
Yeah.
They didn't know anything. I didn't talk about it to girlfriends. In fact, at that point, I didn't even have any friends
I
left.
was going to ask, a lot of abusers will isolate.
Yeah,
their victims.
I was very isolated, so nobody really knew what was going on. But I had a friend that I worked with, and she asked me finally. I don't remember exactly how she asked, but she was pretty direct about it. I mean, she didn't sugarcoat it at all. She's like, "Is he hurting you?" You know, that kind of a question. And then I finally broke down and I confided in her, and she was starting to encourage me to, you know, get out of the relationship somehow, and she would listen. And
Did her doing that also encourage you to finally share with your family what was going on, or were they still in the dark?
They were still in the dark. They didn't know for years.
Oh wow.
I think that comes after another relationship, right?
That's
Yes,
gonna.
that
Yeah,
kinda-
it's
yeah,
gonna.
we're getting there.
It'll come, but it comes years later. But
And were you ashamed to tell your parents?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay.
I was ashamed. I mean, this was my fault. All of this was my fault. That's where
That's
I
what
was
you were
coming
thinking.
from. Yeah,
Okay.
this was my fault. So I was really ashamed of it. So yeah, they didn't know anything about it. But she was slowly encouraging me. So it was one of those things where he had such a hold on me that even if we did separate for a little while, it was like we just came back, because I was so used to that environment that I didn't know how to function outside of that environment.
Right. So you guys would break up and get
We
back
would break
together.
up and come back together, and break up and come back together. And I kept thinking, I remember, there's no place for me to go. You know, I should have been like, oh, I can go home to my mom and dad, but no, that didn't even come into my mind. I have no place to go.
You just felt like lost. Like,
I
what do
would-
I do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what do I do? What do I do?
And when you broke up, when you kept breaking up with one another, was it ever because of was it ever like he would be like, I'm so sorry I did that, like maybe hit you or something, so there was none of that, like I'll be better next time, or
No.
Because you do see that in a lot of
Yeah,
videos
no,
sometimes.
that never even came up. He never
Okay.
acknowledged it.
Okay.
He
Wow.
never acknowledged what he did.
So, what was the final straw?
The final straw, okay, this may be a trigger for some of you. The final straw, we were upstairs, we were renting a 2-story townhouse. We were upstairs in our bedroom. He was a roofer. He had fallen off a roof and broken his leg. So he was on crutches, and he had surgery, so he had this cast thing and on crutches. And we were upstairs in our bedroom, and we started arguing about something. I don't know what we were arguing about. And he kind of pushed at me, and I was right in his face, yelling right back, and I stormed down the stairs, and I was going to grab my keys, and I was going to leave. I mean, I was there. And mind you, he's on crutches, broken leg. He flies down those stairs, knocks me onto the ground, and has me by the throat, banging my head into the floor,
Wow.
choking me. The neighbors next door called our phone and asked if everything was all right, and that's when he stopped. And I remember thinking, as he's, like I'm here, and he's choking me, banging, and I'm thinking, don't hurt him. He has a broken leg. Don't hurt him.
Oh my God.
He has a broken leg.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I kept thinking. Don't hurt him. He has a broken leg.
Yet at the same time, he could have literally killed you at that
He
moment.
could have literally killed me, and I would not have hurt him because he had a broken leg.
Susie, do you think that if the neighbors hadn't called that day, he might have gone that far?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I had bruises on my neck for sure. I had a headache for a few days.
Or he had a concussion.
I probably did. didn't know what a concussion was back then,
No.
but you know, but yeah, I mean, he easily could have killed me right then and there. So thank God they called, and I don't remember if the police showed up that night or not. They showed up once or twice, but I don't remember if they showed up that night. But I remember thinking, I've got to get out of here. And I remember thinking, I can't stay in Green Bay. Green Bay's my hometown. I said, I can't stay in Green Bay because we're like magnet. We just keep coming back together. I need to get away. So I'm thinking about family and, you know, friends that live outside of the city. Like, can I go stay with my aunt in, I'm trying to think of what state she was in at the time, Arkansas, I think. Can I go stay with my aunt in Arkansas? Can I go here? Can I go there? And I had a phone call with one of my old high school girlfriends. She had moved to La Crosse. And I mentioned to her that I need to get out of Green Bay. And I was thinking about going to visit my aunt for a few months. And she said, why don't you come here? You come here for the summer. And I went, oh my God, yes, thank you.
Which probably at that time felt like you were really doing something healthy for yourself. Like you were taking some, you know, steps. And you were, to be fair.
I was running away.
Yeah. You still hadn't told anybody
I still hadn't told anybody what was going on, but I was getting away from that environment.
Yes.
By running away. So I remember I told him I was leaving, and he didn't argue because he actually had another girlfriend.
Oh.
So he didn't argue. He's like, fine, whatever, I don't care. So we ended our lease, and I put all my stuff in storage, and he got his crap, and I packed up my vehicle, and I went to La Crosse. And I didn't know how long I was going to be there.
And how long did you end up being
I was
there?
there about 4.5 years. Where I'm asshole number 2. And 3, actually.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, tell us about, I want to see it. I don't think I have any more questions
About asshole number 1.
Yes.
Yeah, so again, my parents didn't know anything at that time. I don't know if my younger sister knew, and possibly my younger brother may have had an inkling, but I don't know for sure if they knew. I know that at some point they did find out. But I went to La Crosse, and La Crosse at that time period, there was a lot of drinking going on.
There's still
a lot of college. I was going to say, a lot of college.
Yeah, because there's 3 colleges there?
Yes.
Yeah, 3 colleges there. And 3rd Street, you could just go from bar to bar to bar to bar to bar. And then you circle up on a 4th Street, bar to bar to bar to bar to bar. And I was living on, no, I was down further. I was on Winnipeg. Okay, I was a ways further. But I moved in with my girlfriend, and I made friends with her roommate, who actually didn't know I was coming. That's another funny story. But I met another, a girlfriend through my girlfriend, and she and I become lifetime friends. So that's a funny story in and of itself. But I got a job. I planned to stay for the summer. I needed money. I got a job waitressing at the Country Kitchen on 7th and King Street, for those of you old enough to have partied and gone to the Country Kitchen for your after-bar breakfast.
Did you do after-bar, or was it during the day?
I worked during the day. I had the 6 to 2 shift.
Okay. Which is the better shift?
Well, not necessarily, because you had to leave the bar by midnight.
Okay.
To get home, to get enough sleep, to get up for 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So you were drinking.
I was going to say, you would work
and
and then stay and party.
Oh my God. I would work during the day and then go home and sleep for a little while, or clean, or whatever I needed to do. And then a group of us would go out maybe 8 o'clock at night. And we would go out drinking, so there was lots and lots of alcohol. There was pot. I didn't do anything stronger than pot, because let's just face it, I was too afraid. Yeah. So that was a good thing. But yeah, I was drinking and smoking joints.
So do you think
running away
was yeah, like it was.
Running away.
You were running away. You were in denial.
I was in
You
denial.
didn't want to deal with it, so that was the way to deal with it. I think a lot of young kids do that. Even
Yep.
older people. You know, you just you do the drugs or the alcohol to just not deal
Just
with
to
it.
numb it, having fun.
I was having fun. It was my slutty years, so I had a good time.
But I'm guessing in that,
yeah,
you met number two.
I did.
And now we know why he was only number 2.
In the alcohol and pot-induced life period, I met a young man. His name was Todd, and he was going to college to become a police officer.
So that sounds upstanding.
That sounds
right.
really nice, right?
It does.
Unfortunately, I didn't pay attention to the clues because he was working at the jail for his part-time job while he was going to school. And he would come and tell me about what he did with his fellow officers to some of the inmates. And it was stuff like, so-and-so asked me for a blanket and I wouldn't give him a blanket. I mean, it wasn't anything horrific, but it was definitely power control. So so-and-so asked me for a blanket and I'm like, yeah, right, and I wouldn't get it for him. Or this guy asked for this and I wouldn't do it. Or this guy did this and we did this. And warning signs, red flags all over the place. But my alcohol, pot-induced mind went, oh, you sure sound familiar.
It's like Ethel number 1.
Yeah, exactly. It was what I was used to.
Yeah.
It was exactly what I was used to.
So it wasn't alarming, the things he said, then?
No, it was like...
Was it kind of funny, actually, like some of the things he said?
Some of the things he said were a little funny, and some of them are like, oh, that's sad, it's just sad. But I didn't really, like I said, there were no red flags. So I started dating him and jumped in both feet. I was engaged within like 2 months of knowing this guy.
Of knowing him. Okay.
Yeah.
So he moved quickly.
He moved very quickly, and I was too far gone.
Yeah, too partying to really care.
To pay any attention to it. So yeah, I got engaged to him. Called up my mom and dad, and they're like, "What? No, really, I'm engaged." So brought him home for Christmas. I remember that year. Brought him home for Christmas. It went well. I mean, it went okay.
Your parents liked him and stuff?
My parents didn't hate him. I mean, they treated him decently, but they treat everybody decently. So, I mean, we drove from La Crosse to Green Bay, spent Christmas in Green Bay, then we went back to La Crosse, and I don't know why. I really don't remember what triggered it, but something triggered it, and I broke up with him. But I can't pinpoint what it was.
Okay.
Something, I don't know, maybe somebody just kind of tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, this guy's bad news, you gotta get out of here. I don't remember what it was.
So how long were you dating?
Maybe 3 months.
So after 2 months you were engaged?
Yeah. Within 2 months we were engaged. We were engaged for maybe 2 or 3 weeks when I finally said, something's not right. Something's not right. Something's not right.
Couldn't put your finger on
I
it.
couldn't tell you what it was. There was no defining moment at that time. The defining moment came later. There was a defining moment.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it. So for that year, he got me a puppy for Christmas.
Okay.
I was living in an apartment. He had a home, his family home. And he kept the puppy at his house. So after I broke up with him, this one time at band camp, I broke up with him.
Those of you who never watched American Pie, that's a reference to that movie.
So I broke up with him, and he calls me at, it was like 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I had just finished my shift. And he's asked me to come over and let the puppy out. Because he had, I don't remember what he said, some kind of a medical condition that he couldn't get out of bed. It was like, I don't want to say kidney stones, but I mean, it was something on that order where he couldn't get out of
Did he
bed.
have that when you first started dating him?
No.
Okay.
No. But whatever this was. He had this, whatever it was. He couldn't get out of bed to let the puppy out. So I said, okay, I'll come and let the puppy out. So I drove over to his house, and I went in, and I let the puppy out, and he and I started talking. Now, mind you, we were broke up. And I went and let the puppy out, and then I went to let the puppy in, and I told him I was, I was going to go, and, he needed to figure out the puppy because I wasn't going to keep doing this. And something in him snapped, and he refused to let me leave that house. So when I tried to go out the back door, he blocked the back door. And at this point, I'm ready to, fight, so I went into fight or flight mode. So I ran to the front door, and he beat me, and he wouldn't let me out the front door, and we did this back and forth with me running for a long time. I remember I got out at one point, and he was hot on my tail, and I got into my truck. I had a truck at the time. I got into my truck. He was right behind me, shoved me into the passenger side, jumped into my truck, drove me around, I don't know where, holding me on the ground, the floor of the truck, not letting me out, brought me back to his home, drugged me in the house, and we had a physical battle. So we were in a physical battle. It was after 10 p.m. by the time I finally escaped. Or he let me out. I don't know if he let me out because he knew I wasn't going to stop, or if I actually won my freedom. I don't know. I know it was late, and it was probably after that. I think it was closer to midnight. So if you think about it, we were in this physical battle from 3:30ish to 11 or midnight, maybe, something in that order.
Was he hitting you and things like that?
He wasn't hitting me. He was holding me down, not letting me leave. If I was sitting like you are right now, he would be forcing me to sit.
Okay.
Or forcing me on the ground, not letting me leave.
Wow.
And I was fighting like
you
a wet cat.
You must have been really scared.
Yeah,
I was angry more than scared.
Okay.
So I was fighting.
And the adrenaline kicks in.
Yes.
Man, and you just do what you need to do to survive.
Yes.
So
And that was that.
The puppy thing seems like a ruse.
It was.
Just to get you over there.
Just to get me over there.
And he wasn't obviously as sick as he said he was.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't at all. Now, mind you, he was going to school to be a police officer. So when he finally let me go, or when I finally won my freedom, I don't know which one it was, I remember jumping into my truck, and all I could think of was, I have to go let work know I'm not coming in the morning. So I drove over to the country kitchen. They were open 24/7 for, you party afterward. So I drove over to country kitchen, and the night manager was there, and I can't remember his name. But I walked in. He thought I was drunk because I couldn't hold my balance. I was so physically exhausted. And I told him what happened, and his face just dropped. And then he asked me if I wanted to call my friend, because he knew I didn't have any family. So I called my girlfriend, and she was still working at her second job, which was at another bar in town. Imagine that. So she called a taxi and had the taxi pick me up at the country kitchen and drove me over to where she was working. So I got to her. I told her what happened, and she said, "We are calling the police."
I was going to ask that, yeah.
So she called the police, and they came to the bar, and I told them my story, and they brought me into the station because they needed pictures, because I had bruises everywhere. Wow. So here's the funny part. Todd, trying to become a police officer, knew enough to go and file his own police report.
Prior to you doing it?
Prior to me. He was trying to cover his butt.
Wow.
So he filed a police report and made it look like it was me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we ended up going to court. It was kidnapping charges. And this is when my mom and dad found out what was going on. They didn't even find out about Paul yet, but they found out about Todd. So one of the things that happened that helped my mom and dad to find out is I wrote like a 10, 12-page letter to Paul. Everything that had happened, and I begged him to please not do that to the next woman in his life, basically.
And that was number one.
That was number one. Paul was number one. After Todd, number two, I write this big letter, you know, and I'm talking about what happened to me with Todd. I'm talking about what happened with Paul. Please don't do this anymore. You've got to stop. You've got to get some help. So when we go to court, they find out about this letter, and it's called in as evidence.
Oh, wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I had written it so quickly after the incident and mailed it that it was considered evidence.
So you mailed it?
I mailed it to Paul in Green Bay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wrote a letter about what happened with Todd, mailed it to Paul.
Okay.
So we go to court. My mom comes because she's going to support me. And we're in court, and I'm testifying, and they bring this letter out, and they start reading excerpts from this letter, and my mom finds out about what Paul did in that court case.
She had to be in tears.
She,
pissed.
I honestly don't know what her expression was because I was so focused on the court case because I don't know if you guys have ever been to court, but they try to twist your words.
Oh, yes, they do.
They try to twist your words, and I was not having it. So this wasn't even like the full-blown court case. This was like the very first one when they figure out, do we even have enough evidence for a court to go to court,
to go to trial.
To go to trial. So I don't know what that one's called, but that was that very first one, and his attorney said we can't take this to trial. You will lose, basically. So they plea bargained from kidnapping down to false imprisonment. And one of the punishments he got was he was kicked out of the police force.
Good. I wondered
Kicked out of police college.
Good.
And he's not allowed to be a police officer in the state of Wisconsin. Now, I don't know.
It could be somewhere else.
Yeah. Last I heard he moved to another state. So, you know, he could be a police officer somewhere.
Right.
Doing the same stuff over and over and over again. But that's when my mom found out. And of course, she told my dad. And then the rest of my siblings found out because they found out in the court from that letter.
So what was your parents' initial reaction? I mean, I know your mom was in court knowing, but like, what was their, after the court and it was all done, like, what did they say to you?
Oh my gosh. What did she say to me? She hugged me. She told me she loved me. She said, we should have told them what was going on. Yeah. Just, I mean, I think she was in shock.
But I'm sure they understood
Yeah.
the guilt that you felt, but just I'm sorry, you guys. We're gonna have whiskers in our.
Yeah, there's our cat right there.
There's my
Get a
cat.
photo bombed.
We got photobomb by my cat.
It's okay. A little humor after all
we'll,
of that.
We'll keep it in there, possibly, or we'll put it in the little blooper.
I think you just leave it in there.
It's so dang cute. All I could see was whiskers across the screen. But anyway, that's a lot of heavy stuff. And
Right.
How old were you at this point after asshole number 2?
I was maybe 21.
So that's a lot to deal with.
You're very young at that point.
Yeah,
I was
very
very
young. So 2 abusive relationships, and one where, you know, either one you could have easily gotten killed.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
wow.
Exactly. So then, of course, I still didn't go get help. I'm still drinking. I'm still smoking pot.
So you're still living the same lifestyle.
I'm still living
Did
the
you
same
stay with your
lifestyle.
girlfriend, or did you move back home, or?
No, I stayed in La Crosse.
Okay.
I stayed in La Crosse, so I had my own place. I got rid of my own apartment, and I did move in with my girlfriend. We shared an apartment for about a year then.
Okay.
I don't even think it was a full year because then, here comes asshole number 3.
And before you get into that, Susie, I'm just curious, I think. So after you go through these obviously extremely abusive relationships and then the trauma, the trial thing had to have been huge.
Yeah.
Did you, at least part of you, think, well, now I've learned my lesson. I am a strong, independent woman. You know, I'm going to like.
We just crushed it down deeper.
You just kind of buried it.
We buried it more. We
There
just
was
buried
no
it
part
more.
of you that thought I'm not going to be a fool again, or
We just buried it more.
You just partied more and buried it.
Yeah, I just drank more,
Okay.
smoked more pot, broke my ankle smoking pot. That's another story.
We'll have Susie on again. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I really didn't. You know, I really didn't. I
Just
mean,
kind
maybe.
of chalked it up maybe to this. Just,
Yeah. There may have been a few little more warning signs that came up, but I ignored them.
Yeah.
I ignored them.
Yeah.
So
how long between number 2 and number 3?
oh, it wasn't long.
Okay.
Not long.
Oh, wow.
Not long. So number 3, he actually got a job working at the restaurant.
That you
With
worked
me.
at?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The country kitchen.
At the country kitchen. So he was 9 years older than me, and so he was a mature man.
I suppose when you're 21, I suppose. Yeah.
See, and the way you say that makes me think part of you at least was looking for somebody different.
Probably.
Yeah, like somebody older that wouldn't be doing that
Yeah,
kind of
would be more
nonsense.
mature.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably was unconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I definitely wasn't consciously, but unconsciously looking for something better. So I found an older man, and he had his own place, and he was nice. I mean, there was not. It's kind of funny because I was not physically attracted to him. It wasn't like I was like, oh my God, you're so hot. No, it wasn't that at all. It was one of those things where we're out at the bars drinking, and some random girl is flirting with him, and he asked me to pretend to be his girlfriend that night so she'd stop flirting with him.
Okay.
So I pretended to be his girlfriend, and the pretending apparently never stopped.
Just kept going.
It just kept going, and you know, I should have had a warning sign that night, because he brought me home that night, and he wanted sex, and I didn't want sex, but he wanted sex, so he was very persistent. And he got his way, even though I said no multiple times. So it wasn't like throw me on the bed, force me. It was just your no doesn't mean anything, and I'm going to convince you to have to say
no
yes.
respect.
No
Yeah.
respect. No
No
respect
boundaries.
whatsoever. No boundaries. Exactly. So that should have been a warning sign, but no. When you're drunk and stoned, you don't pay attention to those warning signs.
Yeah, you're like, oh, or maybe didn't say it loud enough, or you
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of start
Well,
to question yourself.
I was a little slutty at the time anyway, so I'm like,
At that age, our hormones are going.
whatever, we're just gonna have sex, okay, fine, whatever. And then it kind of just continued from there. So, you know, we went out the next night and the next night, and then he took me out for dinner, and, you know, it kind of progressed from there. He went a little bit slower,
Okay.
so I didn't get engaged immediately.
Not after 2 months.
When you say that, how long is immediate? Like, so how long
Well,
did it take?
That's a good question. I actually ended up getting pregnant.
Okay.
So we got married because I got pregnant, but I refused to get married while I was pregnant.
Okay.
So we didn't get married until after my son was born.
So how long, as you were dating, till you got pregnant? Do you remember that at all? Or?
It wasn't that long.
Okay.
4 months maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all. Didn't take long. Because, you know, I'm stoned and I'm drunk,
You're young,
and I'm just stomping down all of my emotions.
This is a more mature man.
And he's a more mature man. I mean,
With
my
his own
gosh.
house.
Yeah.
with his
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So why not? So yeah, I ended up getting pregnant.
So what was your reaction when you found out you were pregnant?
I was like, oh, okay. I am not giving up this baby. Not giving up this baby. So I don't remember what his reaction was. I think his was an oh shit kind of a moment. And
Were you using protection? Can I ask?
yeah, ish.
Kinda, ish.
You know.
If you thought of it, right?
If you thought about it, yeah, I was definitely not a responsible person at the time at all. So let's see. I told him, I told my parents. His family was very, very Catholic. My family, we grew up Methodist, and I told my mom I wasn't marrying him while I was pregnant, and his family wanted us to get married before Joshua was born, and I refused. So we compromised, and I said I'd have Joshua baptized Catholic if that would appease her. So it appeased her. So we didn't get married until Joshua was a month old.
Okay.
So my son was at my wedding to his father.
That's okay. Little ring bearer. No, I
Yep,
don't know.
he was so cute in his little white tuxedo. Oh my gosh, yeah. And you know, even during this whole pregnancy, I mean, there were so many warning signs. So Dan, my husband, was an alcoholic.
Okay.
He was a gambling addict, and he was a drug addict. The trifecta. He didn't abuse me physically,
Okay.
but there was a lot of mental, emotional abuse. Exactly.
And did it follow the pattern of the others where, even though number 2 seemed to escalate pretty quickly, where it was slow?
It was different. He didn't make comments that nagged at my self-esteem. He made me feel unsafe because I didn't know if he was going to spend his paycheck before he got home. I didn't know if we'd have money for food. I didn't know if we'd have money for car payments. You know, it was that kind of a thing. He was very irresponsible that way. I also didn't know he had girlfriends on the side.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so that was super fun. But the funny thing is my dad liked him a lot.
Oh, okay.
Because Dan was the kind of man that could come into a room and be your best friend in 5 minutes, but it was all bullshit.
Okay.
So he's very charming.
Yeah.
He was very charming.
Is that why you agreed to? Well, you got me married because you got pregnant.
I got married because I got pregnant. But the day of my wedding, my friend Wendy, we're getting ready to go to the church, and she's like, "You don't have to do this.
Yeah.
You can get in the car. We can go. We can go." And I laughed because I laugh when I'm nervous, and I kind of laughed it off. And I remember thinking, I have to marry him. My mom and dad just spent all of this money on a wedding,
Wow.
the wedding reception. You know, we grew up. We were poor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was on food stamps, or not food stamps. Sorry, I was on the meal program at school, reduced and free lunches at school. That's what I meant to say. So we grew up very, very poor. We had everything we needed, but we didn't have a lot of extra spending money. So my mind was like, my parents can't afford this.
Right.
Yeah.
If I make them pay for a wedding, I have to get married.
And do you think it would have been different if you hadn't had your parents' support? If they didn't like him, for example?
If they didn't like him, it probably would have been easier to walk away.
Okay.
But
He had that salesman charm.
he had that salesman charm. He could promise you, like he would promise me he wasn't drinking. Because I told him before we got married, I said, I am not going to be married to an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
You got to quit drinking and partying all the time. Otherwise, I'm not going to marry you. So he actually hid it from me the entire pregnancy.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, like the women, probably, you didn't know we had women on the side.
I
either,
did
so
not.
It was very
That's
deceptive.
yeah. I found out about that.
Later.
I'll share that
Okay.
later when I found out about that. But yeah, he hid all of that from me.
Okay.
You know, so I didn't know what was going on. And I remember that first year we were married a whole year and a half.
Okay.
I don't know how many times I packed up Joshua and went to my friend Wendy's house for a night or two. I can't even tell you.
Wendy, the one that when you had initially moved to La Crosse?
No, Wendy was the girlfriend or the roommate that I met. Yeah. So when I moved to La Crosse, it was Mary Jo was my friend,
Okay.
and Wendy was her roommate, and then Wendy and I became lifelong friends.
And you guys are still friends.
And we're still
today.
friends.
I think
We're
that's
still
really
friends
good.
today.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So that first full year of marriage, we broke up. Well, I shouldn't say broke up. I packed up Josh and went to Wendy's house multiple times.
Because of his drinking?
Because
or-
of anything. Drinking, not having a paycheck, not coming home,
Okay.
because he wasn't physically abusive,
Right.
but I didn't know if we were safe,
Right.
because I
Yeah.
never knew if we had money, if he was going to drink it or gamble it,
And I think that's, you bring up a good point there too, that a lot of times in abusive relationships, it's not just the you know, the presence of abuse. It's
Right.
the absence of, whether it's they withhold
The
like
insecurity,
emotional
Yeah.
support or financial support.
Mhm.
You know, my ex, you know, there was a lot of holding back of financial support and
Right.
stuff while he, you know, had his things that he bought for himself. The
Right.
kids and I didn't have things. So I
Right.
think that's a great thing that you bring that up, because I
Mhm.
think a lot of people don't realize there's also the absence of things.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And safety, like you must have not felt very safe.
I
in
did
that.
not feel safe. I
Yeah.
did not feel safe. I did not feel safe for my son or myself.
Mhm.
And after our first year, I decided that I wasn't going to stay in lacrosse anymore. So I was sneaky, because after all, I'm really good at running away. So I was sneaky, and I rented a big U-Haul truck and a car carrier, because I had a car, and I gave my notice at work. So my work knew when my last day was going to be. They also knew that I was packing up this truck and my kid and leaving town, and they knew that my husband didn't know about it.
Okay.
Wow.
So they sent one of the guys that worked there to help me pack up the truck.
Oh, wow.
So he got paid to help me pack up the truck.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Dan went to work that day, and the gentleman that helped me, his name was Joel. He was a nice guy. He was a really nice guy. Not one that I was attracted to at the time, because I liked assholes, but he was a nice guy. But he came over and he helped me pack up, and I took everything that belonged to me, which was a lot. You know, I think I left him a twin size bed and a couch, and I took everything. Like when he got there and walked in, he must have been like, "What the?" I mean, there's just like paper scattered, a couch, and one bed. You know?
Hey, at least he had a bed to sleep in.
Yeah. And I took everything else and came to Green Bay. Everything.
Were you staying with your parents?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents were waiting for me. My sister had
Okay.
cleared out space in her basement for me to store my stuff until I could find a place to live.
Okay.
So by that time, then your parents understood that this was not a good relationship either.
Well,
Or
not necessarily.
Okay.
Because
Tell us.
Dan was a schmoozer, man.
Okay,
He was
it
a
wasn't over.
schmoozer. It wasn't over. So Dan ended up following me. So like 3 or 4 days later, he came and showed up in Green Bay, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
How did I know you went to Green Bay? Just figured.
He figured.
Parents.
He
Yeah.
figured. So he showed up in Green Bay, and then he ended up staying with me at my mom and dad's house, and I got a place to live in Green Bay. I found a house to rent. So I moved into this house to rent, and he came with me into this house to rent. And, you know, I'll do better. That's the I'll do better.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would
So,
come up at
yeah,
some point,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I'll do better. And I'm like, okay, this is it. This is the last try. If this doesn't work. And it didn't take long for him to get back into that drinking,
Yeah.
alcohol party, you know, that cycle. So he got back into that. And again, I'm really good at sneaking. So I think he was back for not very long. I mean, we were only married a year and a half. So I left right around that year mark. He may have stayed in Green Bay with me for 4 or 5 months. I filed for divorce. I didn't tell him. He was at home with Joshua, and I went to work that day. He got served papers.
Wow.
I came home and I said, so, did you get the divorce papers today? And he said, yeah. And I went, okay. And we didn't even talk about it. And I went to bed that night, and I woke up the next morning, and he was gone, and that mother stole my car.
Oh, wow.
He had his own car, which was a POS
Right.
station wagon with a leaky gas tank. I had my car that he wouldn't even help me pay for, and it had Joshua's car seat in it. So he took my car with my baby's car seat in it and disappeared, and I didn't hear from him for 2 or 3 months.
Weren't you worried when you had papers served at the house, knowing he was with Joshua?
No, I knew Joshua was safe.
You knew he wouldn't take Joshua and just go.
I knew that.
Okay.
Okay.
I knew that. He was too irresponsible to want to have to take care of a kid.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That
I
makes
knew
sense.
Joshua was safe. So when I came home, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, he just disappeared in the middle of the night.
Oh, geez.
So then, of course, now I've got to figure out what I'm going to do because I have no car.
Yeah.
Except his POS. So my mom and dad actually found a car and let me, borrow one of their cars.
Okay.
So I ended up selling off all of his stuff. He had brought a fishing boat with him. He had hunting equipment with him. Now this is where my mom and dad figured out how bad Dan was.
Okay.
Because when we were cleaning out my house, it had a basement. And in the basement were all kinds of empty beer cans hidden all over the place.
And you didn't
my
even know about
gosh,
it.
I didn't even know about them.
He had a stash.
He had a stash.
Okay.
He had a stash. So I think that was quite eye-opening when my dad saw all of these empty beer cans all over the place. Because I never went in the basement except to do laundry.
Yeah.
So he had them hidden all over the place. And right across the street from us was a convenience gas station. And they sold those large beers.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he'd go across the street and get a beer whenever he wanted to because there wasn't any in the house.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yep.
So before you kind of wrap that up and move into the transformation, if you will,
Yeah.
you said something a few minutes back that was something we had touched on before this podcast today, and that was that you weren't attracted to Joel because he was a nice
He
guy,
was a nice guy.
and you were attracted to assholes. So tell our listeners more about that. Like, why? Like, looking back now, why did you keep attracting that kind of guy?
Well, that actually came up during my transition.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
So
segue then.
it is. It's a perfect segue. So after I divorced Dan, I decided that I did not want to date these kind of guys anymore.
Okay.
So I went and got professional counseling. Counseling is a good thing. Go get counseling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I went and got
That was
professional counseling. And during that counseling session, one of the things that came up is what is attracting you to these men, this type of person. So I'm going to kind of remember how it went. So Paul was like the hidden one. You didn't know it was happening until it was too late. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of broke my warning system, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
or damaged it. Let's just say he damaged it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then when I met Todd, I paid attention because there was some reason I didn't want to date him. But I don't know what it was, but something said I need to break up with him. So I listened to my warning sign, right? And then we had that fiasco. So then my warning system, I didn't trust it anymore. And we just shut that sucker right off.
Yeah.
So therefore we met Dan.
Okay.
So my warning system was completely shut off after Todd.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I had to turn all of that back on, if you will.
And
To
that's-
start to
That's
pay
what helped with
attention.
the counseling. It
The
really
counseling,
helped.
yes,
really helped
exactly.
with that.
It really helped with that. So it was starting to rebuild my self-esteem, starting to turn back on my internal warning system, if you will.
Intuition.
My intuition, yeah, because I shut it down after Todd. I'm just like, didn't work, it didn't work, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So shut that completely off, and then I met Dan. So during that time period, especially between Todd and Dan, any nice guy was not.
Yeah.
You
was
probably didn't feel you were worthy of a nice guy
Yeah.
at that
Oh
point
my
without
God.
even
No.
knowing that.
No.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So then counseling really helped a great deal, and I was in counseling for several months. I'm not even sure exactly how long, but you know, when you go through counseling, you get to that point where you've graduated, right?
Yeah.
So I graduated, and it was kind of funny because shortly after I graduated is when I met Frankie.
Okay.
So if
Who's
anybody
Frankie?
knows Frankie,
Yeah.
Frankie is my current husband. We've been together 33 years. He treats me like a princess. He is my Prince Charming for sure. And I put that man through hell and back. I do. Because
He's next, by the way.
because when you come out of that,
Frankie, if you're watching this,
Oh
we
my
apologize.
oh my gosh, yes.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
All
So
right.
then I met Frankie, and
So how did you meet Frankie?
so mind you, I'm back in Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
My dad worked at KI, which is a furniture manufacturing in Green Bay, and I was working at the Country Kitchen in De Pere when Dan was with me in Green Bay, but I wasn't making enough money to support myself. So when I divorced Dan and he left, or let's say when I gave Dan my divorce papers, and then he left, my dad helped me get a job at KI.
Okay.
Nice.
And when I was working at KI, I met Frankie because he worked in the chair department
That's
right
right.
here, and I
That's
worked in
right.
the chair department right here. And it's kind of funny because when I didn't have a physical attraction to him right away, because you're wearing a uniform. So he had work clothes on and safety glasses on, and you really just
Not
don't
really
know what
sexy.
somebody. It's not sexy.
So that thing that you're attracted to men in uniform doesn't always work.
No, it was not. No, it was. He had blue pants and a blue shirt. I had blue pants and a blue shirt. He had these big safety glasses with the side thing on. I had safety glasses on. So there was no physical attraction whatsoever. But he was nice, and he came up and he would talk to me. So I remember I was in the glue booth. So one of the processes of making furniture is you take a spray glue and you spray it on the foam cushion, and then you spray it on the fabric, and then you take it after a minute, let it dry a little bit, and you put it over, and then you then it gets stapled onto the back plate.
Okay.
So I don't know if I explained that right. But
Well, we can look at these chairs. When
yeah, we'll look at the chairs later. So he came over this one time at band camp. He came over and he pointed out that I wasn't giving it quite enough dry time between spraying them and then putting them together. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, And then it was a conversation here and a conversation here and a conversation here. And at that time, I smoked back then. So I remember going outside and having a cigarette, and for some reason he was outside. He didn't smoke. He doesn't smoke. He's never smoked, and he was outside talking with people. And and I'm having a cigarette, and he's a nice guy. Nice guy, and we just developed a friendship. And at some point in time, he was it him? No. At some point in time, I initiated this conversation. I said. His name was Franco. He went by Franco. I'm like, Franco, what's your ideal woman? And he went, well, I'd like a short, petite, very feminine woman. Very feminine, short, petite, dark hair. And I'm like, I have a friend that you've got to meet.
Oh, no.
So after I left the house I lived in with Dan, I moved into a low-income housing because that's all I could afford. And across the drive, the parking lot, I made friends with a lady named Dahlia. She was a Hispanic lady. Short, petite, very feminine, dark hair, dark eyes. And he described her to a T. So we made arrangements that he was going to come and meet her. So I was working 2 jobs. I was bartending at the Downtowner Motel.
Okay.
So we arranged for him to come to the Downtowner Motel this one night, and she was going to meet him there. And this particular night, there was a singles dance for people over 30. Now, I was not over 30. I mean, I'm 25 at the time, right? So I'm bartending. So he walks in with his friend. And my mouth literally dropped. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen him in street clothes.
Oh,
okay.
He was wearing these tight jeans
And
and a bum t-shirt and cowboy boots. And he had his hair, but he had longer hair, wavy in his back. And I'm like, oh my God. So he comes in, and I introduced him to my friend, and I let them talk. And at some point, he leaves with his friend, and I asked my friend Dahlia, I'm like, how did it go? And she said, no, not really. I'm like, okay. So I get done with my shift, and Dahlia wasn't ready to go home yet, so we decided we're going to go out to the bars. So we went out to Shaboom's.
Okay.
Do you remember that place?
Yes.
So this was a bar that was a country bar on one side and a 60s sock hop bar on the other side. There was a doorway.
And then it morphed into 3 bars.
Did it morph into 3 bars? Yeah.
Yes.
And the bathrooms were shared.
Yeah.
So we go to actually we were at the country bar. I don't even know what it was called. And then we walked through over to the 60s bar.
Because it was sidelight or something.
Something.
The sports thing.
Yeah.
The 60s and then the country bar.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
just in this cluster.
Yeah.
So we go through to the 60s bar, and who's there? Franco and his friend Scott. So I go up to Franco, it's hard for me to say that name. I go up to Franco and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And we just start talking and we're having a good time and we're dancing, and we danced and talked the entire night. Had a great time. By the time we got to the end of the night, I said, Dahlia, are you interested in him? And she said, no, I'm not. I said, oh, good. I think I am. And then I said something smart ass like, at least you know I'll never set you up with a guy I wouldn't date myself.
That's a good friend.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So she kind of chuckled at that one, and then I kind of watched. I wasn't sure if he had a girlfriend or not, because there was this one girl at work that he would hang out with. They'd go fishing together, but they weren't dating. So it was kind of funny because 2 weeks later we bump into him again at the same bar.
Oh my God.
And we danced and talked and danced and talked. We had a great time, and we've been together ever since that night.
No.
Now the funny thing is, this was before my divorce was final from Dan by like a week.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. So I told him I'm still married.
Technically.
Technically, but give me a week.
We'll be all set.
We'll be all set. Yeah. But
Wow.
That's amazing.
yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
So, as we had said, we were going to call this your Cinderella story.
Oh my God, he is definitely.
So, what kind of stuff? I know we're getting close to the end, but what kind of stuff did you put poor Franco through in the beginning?
Well, anyone who's gone through abuse, especially physical abuse, we're going to test some boundaries.
Yeah.
We are going to test some boundaries. So when we would have an argument, I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, waiting for him
To react.
to react, waiting for him to react. And he would get angry, but he never ever struck, never lifted a hand at me. I remember he did break a kitchen cabinet door one. I think it was a kitchen cabinet door, because I had pushed him so far that he needed to release some anger. So
Sure.
he broke something, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Right. Right.
So there was a lot of, I would say that first year. So we dated for a year, and then we moved in together, and that first year we were living together, for sure, there was a lot of testing going on.
Because you were waiting for the shoe.
I was waiting for the shoe to drop.
Mm-hmm.
I was poking that bear, and I remember one time we had an argument, and I actually went in the closet and hid because I was just so freaked out, and he came and found me in the closet and just, apologized and hugged me and reassured me that he wasn't going to hurt me. I will never ever lay a hand on you. I will never.
He knew about your past.
He did.
About your past.
He knew everything.
And he was dealing with the past. Well,
He was also dealing with a past, so we were kind of healing each other. So he was also divorced. He had been divorced about 2 years from his first wife, and she had affairs on him. And he would wake up in the, like if I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, he'd freak out, like, where are you going? I'm just going to go to the bathroom. Okay. And then I come back and I crawl in bed. I'm here. Okay. And then he'd go back to sleep, because he would wake up and she would be gone.
wow.
They'd go to bed together. He'd wake up and she'd be gone. So it took a while for him to get comfortable with me, because I wasn't leaving the house.
You guys are like each other's therapists.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
It's
We
beautiful.
healed
Yes,
each
it
other
is.
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. So, yeah.
Wow. And you have a blended family, so.
We do. He has 2 children from his first marriage, 2 girls. I have a son from my first marriage. When we met, Joshua was 2, and then Tara was 3, and Cammie was 7.
Okay.
Joshua and Tara, the youngest two, have no memory of life before we were together.
Really? Wow.
And those girls, most of the time, I don't clarify that those girls are my stepdaughters, unless for some reason I need to clarify that.
Yeah.
They are my daughters, period. And Joshua is his son, period.
That's
beautiful.
like you said, beautiful.
Yeah. And
That's
the girls and I have a really great relationship. We they talk to me like a friend, and I will give them my best information or my best advice, and I usually give them, well, this is what you might want to think about doing, and this is what happened when I did this. Like I've been through all of that. So if you're going through that, let's have a conversation. And I don't hide anything from them. So
which is good, right?
Yeah.
Because to have that honesty and to teach them those lessons about what you've been through and to be able to educate them a little bit on what happened to you.
Exactly.
Do you keep in touch, or have you talked ever with any of asshole number 1, 2, or 3?
Well, asshole number 3, Dan died not that long ago, and it's really kind of sad. So he ended up moving to, I think he was in Prairie du Chien, living in an apartment, and he was murdered.
Oh, wow.
Oh, over $40.
Oh, that's so sad.
So the guy that lived upstairs in the apartment above him borrowed him $40 for whatever. And Dan must have not paid him back, because at some point the guy sent his adult son down to collect his $40, and one thing led to another, and the adult son actually murdered him. I don't think it was an intentional, but it was stabbing and strangulation. So it was very violent. So he's gone. I did talk to Paul twice. So 3 times. So one time was my 25th class reunion. He did not go to the same school as me. But one of my high school friends married one of his high school friends, and he was still connected in there. So at the end of our high school reunion, it was at the bar. It was called the bar, a bar called the bar.
Yeah.
So it was at the bar, and they just had told Paul he could come. It's windy now. Why don't you come on over and have a few drinks? They didn't tell me, of course, but he showed up there with his wife. His wife was the woman he was cheating on me with all of those years ago. So that was a little awkward.
Yeah.
But it was also very therapeutic, because it felt like a release. Like I finally let go of all of that. And I can't even pinpoint what it was. It's just he didn't have that hold over me anymore.
Right.
That's amazing. And honestly, Susie, I think that as we are toward the end here, I know that when we were interviewing you before the podcast again, we kind of asked you, where did you want to land in the episode today?
Yeah.
And that
no.
You talking about seeing Paul and being able to kind of release, what is your message to people who are watching this, who might be either in the situation or maybe they have moved out of the relationship, but they are just lost? They don't know what to do.
It's not fun at all to go through any of that stuff, but where I am right now today, the woman I am right now today, the husband I have right now today, I would not trade any of that. All of that stuff that I went through helped me to become who I am now. All of those bad relationships helped me to appreciate my husband for who he is. Had I not gone through that, I would probably not appreciate him as much as I do. Because he is the most wonderful man. The most wonderful man. But
I know Frankie.
Yeah. But the thing is if you don't know what you don't like, you don't know what you do like. So had I met Frankie all of those years ago before that, I would not have realized how wonderful he actually is, because I wouldn't have appreciated him for what he is. And forgiving myself has been the hardest part of all of this, because I looked back at it for many years and I thought, I should have done something. You know, I could have done better. And
I was so dumb.
I was so dumb, you know, like anything like that. But no, it was a learning opportunity.
A lifelong learning opportunity.
A lifelong learning opportunity. And I've learned to forgive myself, and I've learned to forgive all of them.
That's important.
It is really important.
That is huge.
So every once in a
That is
blue
huge.
moon, and I've done it not that long ago actually, but I actually would just say a little forgiveness to them. So, Paul, thank you. Thank you for teaching me what I want in this life. Thank you for teaching me to appreciate my husband. Thank you for teaching me to have self-worth and self-value that is not wrapped up in another person.
That's beautiful, yeah.
Thank you for helping me to
Tears,
become who I am.
I know. I got tears a couple times where I'm doing
Yeah.
this.
But if he wouldn't have done what he did, it wouldn't have led to number 2, it wouldn't have led to number 3, it wouldn't have led to Frankie.
Yeah. That's
So I am grateful to have gone through all of that. It's like the best fertilizer is manure. And I had a lot of manure.
So, I think to end, so when people view this, if there's anyone out there, a man or woman, going through emotional, physical, verbal abuse, what is like a piece of advice?
What would I say to them? It's okay to share your story with your friends and your family. It's okay to let your mom know what's going on. It's okay to let your girlfriend know what's going on, or your guy friend. There are people out there that will help you if you tell your story. You don't have to keep it to yourself. You're not the cause of any of this. You're in a situation that you feel powerless over, but you're really not powerless. You have the power to change it. You just have to decide to change it instead of burying it like I did. Don't wait 30 years to forgive somebody.
I think
like
the forgiveness is that big piece of
The
it,
forgiveness
too.
is the big thing, and realizing that you're not powerless. Because a lot of times you feel powerless, but you're not powerless. If you don't have family that can help out, there are other resources. In Green Bay, we have the Golden House.
Yes.
We have a lot of resources that we'll put on at the in the comments on here.
Counseling, there's so many resources. You just have to be brave enough to take a step away. If that makes sense.
And that's the hardest thing.
That's the hardest thing is to take that first step to walk away. Because you deserve better.
Yes, you do. Yes.
So we can't even thank you enough for sharing your courageous story with us today and being the first on this podcast. Because this is what it's about. And it's helping to empower anyone else out there that is going through similar situations and knowing that all hope is not lost.
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have been moved to tears and laughter, and
I had to keep it together a few times. Going, I'm
know.
crying.
I thank you too. I do think your story is going to be inspiring, and I don't have a lot of words because.
Even though we got photobombed.
Yes.
Photobombed by the cat.
It's okay. She wanted part of the show.
But I just thank you too for being the first guest and just making this so easy to interview me too.
She's a pro at this, so she really helped us. So when we actually air this and have this out there on YouTube and whatever other channels we decide, please, if you watch this, if you have questions. We'll have resources below. Ask questions. If you like it, please like and share. We really want to get this out there and get it going. Yeah. And if you are interested,
yes, I think Bobby and I are on the same page.
You go ahead.
And if you have a story of transformation, much like Susie's, it does not have to be the same type of story. Right. It could be any number of things. But if you have a story that you're like, you know what, it's time I share my story, I would like to help other people too, please get in contact with Bobby and I.
We'll have our email below. We have an email for Helen back.
We'd love to
contact us. So,
we'd love to hear from you.
So we thank you if you watched it all the way to the end, and have a great rest of your day.